Hey, welcome back to the pod. I'm excited to have Aaron Parkinson here on with us. Aaron is a digital marketing pioneer. He's currently the CEO of 7 Mile Media, a full service agency for education based businesses. He's got over 20 years experience and has generated or helped generate over $1 billion in online sales. He currently sits on the Traffic and Conversions Agency Owner Committee, is faculty at Digital Marketer, and hosts the podcast Sales Velocity. Today's conversation, we dive into what it takes to build an 8-figure business and dominate your industry. Enjoy. Aaron, finally,
Raul,
we're here.
we are here. It feels a bit like circular. Like we've been a lot of places together and now we're back here.
Life is circular, I would assume, right? Lots of
Yeah, I agree.
cycles.
Number 300? Is that what I heard? Is that number
We're
300?
almost in 300 episodes here, so I didn't want to invite you in episode 3 after me failing like 20 episodes. So might as well get through the first 100, and the second 100 you pulse out, and then 300, like, okay, now I think we're barely getting started. We're just tracking now.
Well, you're in your groove now.
Yeah, we're in the groove here. But Aaron, so I have AI write the podcast titles just to give me some inspiration before I actually go with the live title. But the two keywords that came out when I read your bio, read your website, and read who you were, the two words are industry domination. And I'm not saying that lightly. I actually do think you help your clients dominate their industry.
That is the goal. And in the pursuit of that goal, I think we are evolving perpetually in what we do. And when you started talking to me before we started recording, you said to me, you're not even a media company anymore. And I said, you can't be anymore, or you're going to get murdered in this space.
That's insane.
So even though it's called 7 Mile Media, it certainly is not encompassing the things that we're doing these days.
Well, let's dive into that, because there's a few things. I mean, working with you and alongside you, seeing you from a perspective now, and then just hearing you talk and like the new insights that you have, there's 3 things that I really appreciated. 2 of them we're going to talk about later. But the first was when you had perspective before the whole situation of 2020, it was diversifying with different industries, because that was essentially the niche. So like one of the key things that I talk either with private clients or with teams or just like with other peers is that when you niche down, it's not just I'm working with this industry and this vertical, and this is what I do for them. It can be broader, it can be more horizontal than that. And one of the key insights that I loved was you went horizontal. We do this thing exceptionally well, and we're going to focus on doing this thing as well. And it doesn't matter the industry that the person is in. I can work with someone from real estate, and we can also work with someone in marketing. We can work with someone also, selling information, like all these key things. How has your view on that changed or evolved since what year are we 24?
I think that when you start somewhere, you get known for doing that thing. And so I've definitely been pushing to diversify the industries that we're working with for the last 3 years, but we started in the education side, the information marketing side. That's where I had a lot of experience. And so I get a lot of introductions from that space. And so I think it's difficult to just put that aside, even though you want to diversify. But the focus has still been, how do we expand beyond that? Now we're working with everybody from luxury boutique travel companies to financial services, to insurance, to legal. What we've realized is that our skill sets apply to anybody that needs to get in front of the right audience and bring them towards them with the right messaging, so that they can serve or sell them something that typically has some type of premium price tag, or the service that they're offering has a pretty significant gross revenue to the client. So if I look at, for example, our legal lead generation, those cases that they're closing can be in the hundreds of thousands or millions. And so they have to find the right person for that. With our travel company, they're selling cruises down to Patagonia and the Galapagos. Those aren't inexpensive purchases, right? They need to target the right person with the right message who has enough money to justify that expense, right? If I look at financial services, we're talking about investing retirement savings into some type of vehicle that can be hundreds of thousands to millions, but the commission for them or the lifetime value could be 20,000 upfront all the way to millions in fees over the course of a decade. So it's any of those types of businesses, they're traditionally approaching it in an outdated, non-diversified fashion. And we're bringing our skill set into those marketplaces and consistently beating what they're used to.
So your niche then has not just evolved from, or like the way that you've positioned yourself has not just evolved from we'll do the lead generation, the sales, and the marketing for you, but it's for that person with the long tail. Because the mentality here is not like, hey, dude, I got to spend 20 grand this month so I can make payroll. Like this is like a year. Usually the best types of clients are like, this is going to be take 18 months to at least see some traction.
Yeah, I mean, as we get bigger and more established, we're also attracting a different level of clientele. And the way that those clients approach their business is less hand to mouth or get rich quick mentality. If anything, sometimes the clients we have now, like if I look at the travel company that we're working with right now, they've been around for 50 years.
Yeah.
So we try to get them to move faster. And they're like, we're gonna do this one thing. We're gonna test it out for 6 months. We're gonna run the data back and forth 100 times. And then maybe we'll do the next thing. And I love that. I'm great with that because they're playing the long game, not working with a lot of short game clients where that was a lot of the clients that we were originally working with was that short game mentality.
But
And
the
so
heart rates keep increasing, right? That's the
oh,
battle
yeah, I
scars
mean,
that we have to go through.
it's constant panic. It's constant 911.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and unfortunately, they just don't either have or value the infrastructure to be able to do it properly. And that kind of leads us to how we've evolved
Yeah.
our product offering because I felt like we didn't have a choice.
Let's talk about so a few things before we hit into like the changes that you're seeing in the environment and the ecosystem and the industry. There's another thing also that I love that we one focus with clients, but two, you're also doing it yourself is having a scalable offer. And this is not just creating an irresistible offer or whatever, but this is more about seeing the evolution of the offer grow. How do you see that within clients just to make sure this offer, we can do this long tail approach? We can do a 2 year marketing plan for, because not every offer is going to pop or it's going to only hit a small total addressable market. But then how are you also using that inside of the agency to say that this is what we're actually going to be offering? And it's much broader and bigger than just this one thing.
Yeah, there's a couple of things in there. Like, number one, the first thing I'm asking my clients is where do you want to go? Most of our clients who are coming in right now are somewhere around the $4 to $5 million a year revenue. And so I asked them, like, what is the goal? And if they want to get into that 8 to multiple 8-figure range, then I know then we're going to be the right fit for each other. There actually are some outliers who come in and they're still small, but they have the same mindset. So we'll serve them the same way with the goal outcome still being the same, right? So first off, it's about matching ourselves up with people who have that type of goal and then realizing that there's a whole bunch of things that have to happen along that journey to not blow it up. You and I worked together for a couple of years and I'm sure you can count as many as I can where it was, I want to get to 8 figures. Great. We get you to 8 figures and the whole thing implodes within 3 months.
Yeah,
because
there's no infrastructure, there's no back
there's no
end,
infrastructure
yeah.
and there's no maturity in running the business. So first and foremost, we have to have that conversation right up front. And then secondly, you have to ask them, do you have an offer or do you have a business?
That's the biggest one.
Right. And a lot of times they don't understand the difference. Right. And it's like, oh, I have a business. I have employees. I make money. We have profits. No. There are offers and there are businesses. Offers burn out. They have a quick fire point and then they're dead. And now you might think, no, all the people in the world could resonate with my offer. Okay, but you're not thinking about the fact that as it gets big, other people are going to try and knock it off. Other people are going to improve it. Other people are going to do it better. So if you just have an offer in a very short timeline, and it's cool if you have an offer and you just want to go make a bunch of cash and put it in your pocket, that's great. But it's not don't kid yourself.
Yeah, but it's a short fuse.
Yeah.
It's
Don't confuse it. You don't have a business. You have an offer. So if you want to become more than an offer, what are the other things that you have to put in place for the market so that you're diversified in your approach to that market? That could be on your front end, diversifying how you bring people in the front end. It also can be on the back end, bring them in and saying, hey, we sold you this. What's the next logical step for that client to create for them so that they buy the next thing and the next thing and the next thing? For those people who are not ready to buy yet, is there somewhere else we can put them and give them a different type of product or service to build them up to the point where they're ready to buy the main product or service? It's thinking about all of those different opportunities
Mhm.
and intelligently mapping them out so that you're maximizing every dollar that comes into the business.
If this sounds like a lot of work, it's because it is. I mean, there's
It
no other
is.
way around it. There's no other way around it.
Period.
How do you prime and how do you work with? Because I mean, let's dive into the preface of this isn't like a 3 or 6 month test. Like when you work with clients, it's a long tail approach. How do you prime to
Yep.
work with them to say, here's we're gonna hike this mountain together. Here's your equipment. Here's my equipment. We're gonna do this. What's the workout regimen? What are the breathing techniques? What's the food you got to bring along? Because it's a track. It's a legitimate track.
I think I had to really turn the mirror on myself in the beginning. That was step one, is
Hmm.
historically somebody would say, I got somebody you need to meet. I've told them all about you. They're super excited to meet with you. They've got a marketing problem. Okay, great. I get on with them. I ask them the questions. I figure out what the marketing problem is. I say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to solve it. Come on in, go. And it took an hour.
Yeah.
Now it's actually evolved into sometimes a 2 or a 3 call engagement before they even come on. Because I'll still go through those first things with them.
Hmm.
Then I'll say, okay, now that I've got this information, let's meet again in a couple of days. Let me digest this. And I'll come back and I'll write out a plan, including who they are, what their pros are, what their cons are, what their opportunities are, what my suggestions are for those attacking those opportunities. And then I'll actually run them through something we created called the 7 mile method,
Hmm.
where I'll show them about 40 different elements that our 8-figure and above clients have in common. And I'll basically show them, here's the 3 things that you have out of this list of 40.
Yeah.
And here's the 37 you don't. So if you want to be an 8-figure business, here's the 37 things we have to attack, which is going to take us 12 to 16 months. Oh, and by the way, you were so excited about working with me. You thought like money was going to start raining from the sky. It is, but it's not yours for the first 12 to 16 months. And it's not mine either. It's your business's, because you have to feed the machine
Hmm.
until you've built the things you need to build and test the things you need to test and built the infrastructure and put the systems in place. Now, maybe second half of year 2, you can start to reap those rewards. So if you came to me today thinking, when Lambo, you need an attitude adjustment,
Yeah.
because you're going to get that Lambo. And then your business is going to collapse and you can be that guy driving around in a Lambo with no cash flow coming in.
Oh no, it's ridiculous. I don't even want to go down that route, but so a few things that you mentioned there that I do want to call out that I think are extremely important. Again, going back to the positioning, your position about being exceptional at one thing across industries. Within that one thing, though, the key question that I know people are going to come up is like, how do you go deep into that? How do you like create your own IP? Well, you just did by having the 7 mile method of saying, here are all the best clients across industries, which makes it
Across
even more
industries.
valuable. So I think that's important for us to take back is when you, no matter where you plant your flag on the ground, if it's horizontal, vertical in the positioning, go deep in your own IP development of saying, here are all the clients and here's what success means to them. And here's what we actually did to be successful. And here's how much it takes. One of the things that I'm curious of out of the 40 and the reinvestment, I mean, obviously there's the fees to be paid and like hiring a team, but
Mhm.
one of the things that I had a team tell me was how much is this going to cost us outside of this engagement? Do we look at reinvesting 30% of profits or revenue back into marketing, not just like with like fees to hire a team or hire your team, but like how much is this actually going to take? Because then you need the in my opinion, you need the financial forecast to say, okay, I'm going to afford this, but it's a 36, 40 month like time horizon.
Yeah. And I had a guy the other day, I basically ran him through this and he said, so you're telling me I'm not even really going to be profitable at all till month 4 when I take into like the building of these initial assets and this and this. And I said, I'm telling you that. And I'm also telling you that's not your money, because it
Hmm.
has to then go into the other elements that we have to build after that first 4-month engagement. And so if you're looking to come in here and do this right, you should be taking as little profit as you possibly can
Hmm.
out of this for the first 12 to 16 months, because the profit you'll take out of it at that point is exponential. And so it's a lot about education and positioning with the clients out of the gates, which for my own business has required us to become, I hate the word, but more and more holistic in our approach. And I'll give you an example because you work with a lot of businesses and they're constantly evolving. So this year, we created a partnership with a fractional CFO.
Nice.
And we said, I will pay for you to go through an audit with the fractional CFO for 1 hour so you can get a great understanding of what your finances look like in the first month of engagement. That cost me money. I had to find the guy, I had to train the guy, right? Now, if those clients go on to become clients of his, we created a referral relationship, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But rather than constantly not knowing what's going on with the finances or knowing that they're going to do it wrong, I had to create that process. When I'm a media agency, why am I having to introduce a fractional CFO? Why am I having to introduce a fractional COO? Why am I having to introduce a fractional sales manager
Mm-hmm.
into the equation when I'm just supposed to be the media people?
It's all one thing, right?
Well, the reality is that if I don't, and those areas fall apart, I lose the client.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two options in the equation. I say, that's not my problem. That's not my job. And I let it just be what it is. Or I figure out how to deepen our own product line and our own support systems because it helps both me and the client in the end. I shouldn't have to, but that's not an excuse to not to.
There's an interesting trend also in the healthcare scene, like with
Okay.
I mean, you know the word, like with holistic doctors, but it's like
Sure.
some doctors going on subscription, some doctors like meaning like you pay a subscription to have access to this person.
Yeah, I've seen that, which I think is
Yeah.
really interesting.
But it's a similar mentality. It's not just I'm here to take care of your endocrinology or whatever
Right.
the discipline is. It's I'm here to take care of literally everything. And I see that translating in some of the business world. Some people don't want to do it, frankly, but I'm really grateful and it's really awesome to see that you're doing that. One of the things also, like you're doing that because it's what the businesses require. I was at a conference, I think, and it stuck with me, I think since 2017. And one of the dudes there talking mentioned that to go from 3 to 4 million to 10 plus is significantly more expensive, labor intensive, and longer than you think it's going to be.
I
And I
would agree
think
with those things.
you're showing that by what it actually takes and actually giving businesses a plan to do that. What are you seeing in the environment, like in I don't want to say the markets, but what are you seeing with consumer preferences? What are you seeing with the types of it's different per industry, but what's changing? How are sales cycles evolving, and how are you changing your strategy to meet those new consumer behaviors?
Yeah, you see trends happen. At least I have it. I've been doing this for 20 years. So you could see them happen in 3 to 5 year sprints.
Hmm.
So when COVID hit, everything kind of went from normal to really easy. Now, people who are listening to me are like, COVID was not easy.
It's not a lack of empathy.
No, it's not a lack of empathy, right? In the marketing world, they became very easy because what happened is everybody went home, everybody got helicopter money from the government, everybody had room on their credit cards, and everybody just started buying. So if you went in and you said, do you have this problem? I have this thing, give me money. It was very easy to sell. In 2023, I started to see the wheels fall off. They fell off first when the summer hit. Summer was the biggest drop I'd seen in a summer in 3 years. It was on average 25% across the board,
Mm-hmm.
which is a significant number. And I think it was because the whole world went on vacation. Did you go on any vacations this summer?
I think so. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Okay.
We did something during the summer.
Yeah, I went to Europe twice in the summer. And I saw so many people on my social that went to Europe in the summer that I thought in my head, you have no right to be in Europe. I know what you make and I know what it costs to go to Europe in the summer, and you have no right to be in Europe. Everybody went on vacation this summer.
It was the experience thing that I saw from Schwab. Like a lot of people were just spending on more experiences.
It was experiences. They had been pent up in their houses for 2 years. It was the first summer with no COVID restrictions, and everybody just said, screw it, I'm going on vacation. So there was no inventory to sell to over the summer. It was a massive drop. And so we thought, okay, well, when September comes around, it'll rebound like it always does. And it did rebound, but not to the degree that it had rebounded before. And so we were watching it. And then you get towards November, December, and you're crossing your fingers because if you're in e-commerce, great. You make, hey, well, the sun is shining. in November, December, you got Black Friday, you got Cyber Monday, you got this, you got that, whatever. But in the other industries, you're not sure which way it's going to go. You just know it's going to go down a bit. It went off a cliff in November and December. Worst November, December I've seen in a really long time. The people that were successful were the people that had nurtured their lists and created some type of experience, a lot of it being live, virtual live, where they capitalized on something coming in the new year. But those who didn't have a nurtured list to work with just completely fell off the rails in November and December. And so when I was looking at the year, I was asking myself, what has shifted here? Well, number one, credit markets are tightening, have been tightening like crazy, as inflation has been going nuts. Helicopter money's gone. Debt is way up. You were talking about credit cards the other day. I've been looking at credit cards, defaulted mortgages, loans, record high.
Personal high, yeah.
Yep, record highs right now.
Yep.
So now you've got all of these negative variables pressuring in. And when people were just trying to market to the low-hanging fruit, here's my product or service, here's your problem, I can solve it, give me lots of money. That was working through the COVID timeframe for all those reasons we talked about. It's not working anywhere near the level it was then.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to take a step back and you have to say, okay, my singular modality of marketing is not sufficient anymore. And that's why I took a step back in late November and I looked at all of our 8-figure clients and they were still doing well. They were down, but they're still doing well.
Yeah.
When I looked at my 7-figure, single-digit 7-figure clients who were all in on one product, one service, one channel, whatever, they were getting murdered. And so I took a step back and said, what are the common variables across the 8-figure clients that I can create a methodology around so I can go to the 7-figure clients and say, this is what needs to happen to get to this level. And more importantly, on the new ones coming in, set that level of expectation so that they knew what they were going to have to be investing in if they really were serious about getting to those goals.
It's relationships at scale. And that's one of the key things that I think we lost with the heyday of maybe since 2019 too, but rolling into 2020 and just really focusing on not just like the list, but also how am I nurturing this person and looking at all the peripherals. What else do they need? Are they not ready for the $300 product? What do they need for $7? What do they need for the front end? How am I building the back end offering? That's one of the key questions that some of my private clients are asking too, is like, how do we build the back end? And that's fascinating and fantastic. So you're doing the protocol, the 7-mile method to solve for that. We're barely in Q1 24, finishing it out. What are some of the fruits of that? What are some of the things that you're seeing change or shift? Because I've seen, at least on the B2C side, consumer sentiment, it is changing in some aspects. I've seen some fruitful things this quarter. What are you seeing on your end?
I'm seeing, even if we hadn't implemented these things, there's a rebound that's happened from about January 15th on. So I don't know what the consumer sentiment is around why that changed. I've seen the rebound since then. I mean, I'll be honest with you, even over Christmas, I took a longer Christmas vacation than I ever have. I was tired. I was tired from 2023. Like all of the elements that we just talked about, I'm going on vacation. I wonder how many people did exactly the same thing and then just woke mid-January. But, what I'm seeing internally is that as we've been pushing the 7-mile method into our clientele, it's like a light bulb went on. Like when I did this, I did a video like this and I went through the whole thing and said, here's my state of the union for 2024. And I sent it out and I really didn't know what the feedback was going to be with the current clientele. I only knew that the new clientele on their way in that I was showing it to was saying, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Nobody's approaching it like this. Nobody has this type of long-term strategy. This is awesome. But I didn't know how the current clientele was going to respond. And the current clientele was ecstatic. They were like, oh my God, that's exactly the strategy we were looking for. We've been thinking about all these elements. Nobody's put it down in this easy to understand process. Can we meet so we can talk about what are the time frames that we're going to put all these things in place? So I was really pleasantly surprised. And as a result, they're acting more responsibly. They're thinking more long-term. They're putting more of these elements in place. As a result, they're getting better blended results from a
Mhm.
revenue and profitability standpoint. And it almost feels
Beautiful.
like they see the light, like they can see the path
Mhm.
that's in front of them, and that clarity is making them happy.
I think it's necessary, to be honest with you, when you're looking at that time horizon. The last question really is, so are you a media company?
We really aren't. I mean, at this point, my CMO said to me the other day, we either got to be a media company or we got to be a business incubator. And I said, but we already are a business incubator.
Yeah.
And we probably need to start pivoting our branding and our messaging towards that. And we need to double down on what else do our clients need as part of this journey and making sure that those things are in place
It's
if
insane.
that's what we're going to be. I think that you understand this well, and a lot of people don't unless you're in this space. Marketing is very rarely about what the client needs.
Yeah.
It's about what the client wants. And it's very difficult to lead into a conversation with a prospect on what they need because that's not sexy to them. You have to lead in on what they want, but then educate them on what they need at the tail end of that process. It's that old adage, you have to sell the sizzle and serve the steak, right? So if we talk about something that you are excellent at, we talk about operations, right? You and I both know that everything about business scale is about operations, almost everything, right? People, product, processes. But you try to go into the market and talk about those things, it falls flat on its
Oh yeah.
because nobody
From
wants to
experience
talk
too.
about
Like
that.
exactly.
Nobody wants to. Now, if you go into the marketplace and say more leads, more sales, more revenues, more profit, no problem. Everybody will listen to you till the cows come home.
Yep.
So they're coming into us with that thinking that's
What
what
you're
we're going to
getting them.
talk about, and that's what they're getting, and they are.
Mhm.
But then as part of that process, I'm also saying, do you know what happens when we open the floodgates on you and everything pours out the bottom because your business is a catastrophe? I'm not going to waste my time doing that because that's going to be a short-lived engagement with both of us. It's not worth my time. And you don't want to do it either. So now let's talk about all of these things that we'll have to do as part of that journey. And then they go, you're right, but it's very difficult to lead with.
I completely agree. It's unfortunately I mean, I'm doing this right now. Sometimes the client has to feel the pain until they turn back around and say, well, let's actually go with the original recommendation because you're changing belief at some point. And
Yep.
it's not that you just have to come in and hammer them with a belief that doesn't work out. I've tried that plenty of
Right.
times. But I really appreciate, and I know the word is overused. It's somewhat a whatever word, but it is true. It's like a holistic 360 encompassing piece of what it actually takes. And it sounds to me like you're really honing in. What does it take to actually run an 8-figure business? And you work with
Yes.
us. It's not just we're going to scale your offer or scale your business. It's everything in between, which is a significant amount of effort and time and money.
Yeah. And it's great because I feel like I'm going down the path that makes the most sense. I don't think I've ever been more excited about what is the plan that we're bringing to our clients. The challenge that I have yet to figure out is, to be honest with you, are we charging what we should be for it? And even if we did charge what we should be, would the market even accept it? Kind of feel like we're stuck in that in between
And it
place.
depends. Are you
Like,
playing boutique? Are you playing the big five or big four? Like,
yeah, I mean, we're still playing boutique. We're still playing very white glove, hands on, involved in everything. And honestly, we should probably be charging double with the things that we're focusing on. But the clientele that we have for right now, they couldn't afford it yet and they wouldn't bite on it. And so we're working through that process ourselves as we're carving out our own space in the industry. Nothing's ever easy, man. Nothing's
it's
ever
never,
easy.
yeah. If anyone promises you easy, it's never. They might
No.
sizzle it up, but it's a punch in the face and a kick in the.
Somebody once told me, if you see somebody standing on a stage preaching the word integrity, run because you are in a den of thieves. And I've always remembered that quote, and it's often been true. And when you meet people promising you all of this revenue, all this profits, it's going to be fast and it's going to be easy, it's just ridiculous.
It's for the few, for those who know. They know. Well, Aaron, I really appreciated this time. Super excited to finally chat with you. For our listeners, where's the best place for people to, one, thank you for being on and learn more about you and what you're up
Thank you
to?
for having me. Yeah, easiest place is sevenmilemedia.com. I mean, that's the easiest place. The great thing for me in this, Raul, is I've been doing this for 20 years. So if you just punch in Aaron Parkinson, I pretty much own every asset because
Yeah.
I've been around a long time. So there's a million, I'm the easiest person to access, and sevenmilemedia.com is our corporate site, which has access to me there. So
Man, we'll put those links in the show notes. Aaron, thank you again, brother.
thanks for having me.
If you found value in today's podcast, please consider sharing this with someone that you believe could also benefit from this episode. You never know, you may be the catalyst that opens them up to a new way of operating their business and experiencing life. As always, it's an honor to be a small part of your journey. This is Raul Hernandez. Do good work.